Hello again and welcome to the IT training video series. Again, I am Jake Stupka, the IT director for Powahkian Valley School District. This is going to be part 2 of a video series about Google Forms. Last time we talked about an introduction to Google Forms, creating a basic form, some of the things that you can do with a form that are native to the app itself. And today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about taking that functionality to the next level. So what I'm going to do first, as always, is I'm going to start in my email account, and I'm going to click on my apps browser. I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to click on Forms. Once I've gotten into Forms, you'll notice here that under Recent Forms is the one that we created in the last video. Again, if you're watching this video first, I do recommend going back and watching the video entitled Getting Started with Google Forms, and I will link that in the description below. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and open this form, and we're going to talk about some extra things that we can do here. So you'll notice here's my original form, and I've created those two sections. What I'm going to do is create another section, and we're going to create a question so that we can do a demonstration about something called add-ons. So let me change this here. We're going to do entitled section. I'm going to add a question. And we're going to call this question, let's see here, what is best color? Now, this isn't really the best question to demonstrate this, but it'll work just fine. Normally the questions will be a little bit different, and you'll understand what I mean here when we get to it. So we're going to go ahead and add an option here, blue, okay, we'll say yellow also. Okay, so now we're going to talk about add-ons. And add-ons are essentially apps that work within Google Forms, but that are not necessarily created by Google, but they're built to work within Forms. Now, what kinds of things can you do with them? Well, I am not an expert on add-ons, and there's quite a bit more available than I have ever even seen or am familiar with. But I'm going to talk about one in particular that I really like and that I have used a number of times. And it's called Choice Eliminator. Now, to look at add-ons, what you want to do is from your Forms page, you're going to click on the three dots here at the top right-hand corner, and you're going to go to add-ons. What it's going to do is it take you to a store-like interface where you can actually search for different types of add-ons. Now, you'll notice that there's a ton here. Once again, this is something that's better left explored when you have the time to do so. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this Choice Eliminator 2 right here. It's a free add-on, and when I add it here, it's going to actually ask me to sign in. We'll hit allow. And then you'll notice that what's going to happen is up here at the right, it's going to actually give me this little icon that looks like a puzzle piece. That's where you access your add-ons. When I click on that, you're going to see that Choice Eliminator 2, which is the one that I installed, is now available. So when I click on it, it's going to give me some options here to configure. It pops up in a little menu here at the side, and you'll notice that there is this note, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about that as part of doing this. So what is Choice Eliminator 2? The basic functionality behind it is as follows. What it does is it allows you to define the number of times that a certain choice can be selected within a question. Now, why might this be useful? In my personal life, I did use this once for a potluck that I was holding. And what I did was I decided what I needed people to bring, but I didn't want everybody bringing the same thing. So when I sent out the form, what I did was I defined the number of times that different options could be selected. In so doing, once an item is selected, it then disappears from the list. So that means that things can't be selected more than the number of times that you want them selected. A perfect example is, just like I mentioned, when you were having some kind of a potluck, something like that, and you want to make sure that people are only picking from a list of things that you actually need at that moment, just to prevent you from getting multiples of something you don't need multiples of, for example. So when you do Choice Eliminator, It's worth noting that although it's a powerful add-on, it does have a little bit of functionality specificity, I guess would be the way to put it. In particular, one of the notes, the one that was covered in that pop-up that you saw there, one of the notes is that they do recommend you use the drop-down question type. So it's going to look exactly like what you imagine. So when I click on preview, I go to the next one here. And if I do what is the best color, it's a drop down now, right? So it's not a multiple choice selection. You click here and then here's your choices, okay? It just has to do with the way that it's coded. And without getting too far into the weeds, it's essentially to prevent people who are literally filling out the form at the same exact moment in time from being able to essentially break the system. So that's why they recommend that you use the drop-down functionality. So that's one little piece of it that's a little bit finicky, but you know what? It's something you work around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let's see, we'll go refresh question list here. Okay. Now, it's important also to know that anytime you make a change to a question of any kind, even if you change the question type like I did here, you're going to want to click on these 3 lines within the Choice Eliminator add-on and refresh the question list. Essentially what that does is it just makes sure that the data that you're picking from in this box is the same as what's actually in here. For that reason, and for a number of other reasons, I recommend completing the questionnaire you're doing all the way through before you do any choice elimination pieces, okay? So what this gives you is a list of questions that are essentially eligible for choice elimination, okay? So we're going to do this what is the best color question. Okay, when you click on that, you can click on this checkbox that says eliminate choices, okay? So essentially what it's doing now is it's building into the form a script that allows it to eliminate choices once they've been selected. Once this box is checked, you can actually click on this little gear right here and it'll give you options to define, okay? Now, essentially what you're doing right here is exactly what I mentioned before. You're defining the number of times that these options can be selected before they no longer appear in the list. So what that means is that here under red, blue, and yellow, you can actually change these to 2, which means that those colors will each individually only be able to be chosen twice each for a total of 6 total choices, 2 of yellow, 2 of blue, 2 of red. So to back up for a second, because it can get a little bit confusing, what that means is that if we get 3 people that go into this quiz, the first one picks red. The second one also picks red. That third person will only see blue and yellow because the number of times that you can pick red has been expended, essentially. You've reached the limit that you've defined here. These limits can be whatever you want. When I did this in my personal life, and I was using this for a potluck, what I did was I defined like a food item, and then I put the limit as 1, or in some cases 2, things like that. And then when people would pick them, it would essentially check off one of those. And then once this number has been met, then they disappear from the list. They don't appear anymore. At that point, you can be sure that it's kind of an ignorance is bliss thing. I mean, essentially what you have is people picking from a list of things you actually need instead of, every 5 minutes having to email, say, okay, we have everything we need of this. Can somebody bring this? It eliminates a lot of the confusion with that. Now, the applications for this are pretty far reaching. You could do quite a bit. And I believe one of the examples that a teacher here in the district asked me to help with was to use it for registration. So they want students to be able to pick between a number of different, I believe, public speaking engagements, and there's only a certain number of seats for each one. So in other words, let's say there's 30 seats, right? Once that option's been selected 30 times, it's no longer in the list, and they'll have to choose from the remaining ones. So there's a lot of different ways that you can use that. And again, this is just one of the many add-ons that you can add into Google Forms, which makes it really powerful, really, really good to use. So I do recommend it. Again, there's just a lot more to it than that. As usual, it's something worth exploring on your own and really investing in. And it's really good to have an issue or something you're trying to solve, something you're trying to figure out, essentially, in order to get there. But again, thank you. This has been the IT training video series. Again, my name is Jake Stupka. I am the IT director, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. Again, very powerful. I really, really encourage you to take a look at this and see how you can use it, how it can help you out. And again, don't hesitate to use these things in your personal life. Not all of these applications have to be in your professional life. I mean, sometimes these things can be useful at home as well, which I proved earlier. But again, I hope you enjoyed this video. Keep an eye out for more. There's going to be the next couple topics we're going to cover. We're going to talk about things like team drives. There will be additional PowerSchool videos up to come as well. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.